So hidden in the ground, this little library, all buried in pots, was hidden for 2,000 years. In a way, it waited, incubating in the ground until we were mature enough and ready to receive its secrets again. So we're going to look at one of the ancient witches' diabolical spells. There are many, many similar spells to send evil sleep. This is one of the key things of the time. The dream world is the real theatre of magic in ancient Egypt. The world of dreams and sleep. Protecting against dreams, interpreting dreams, sending dreams. That's all the magic seems to be focused on that. Now the spell is to be completed twice a day, once at sunrise and once at sunset, and repeated for 4 days. If it's done for 4 days, which is a key number within Egyptian magic, it causes the victim to suffer a bad dream. If the process is continued for 7 days, the victim dies. So it can be fatal, this type of magic. This latter feature about the death aspect of the spell is written in code. So it's not that well known, right? It have to be decoded before they knew this. The spell, of course, invokes Seth or Typhon to accomplish its aim using diabolic techniques to tear apart. And the way this is done is the appropriate god is provoked, that Seth is provoked, which is a dangerous thing to do, or antagonized, or desecrated, until he or she becomes so angry that they send a demonic emissary, or even come themselves to trouble the victim in their sleep. In Typhonian magic and in ancient magic, there's no threefold law of return. The magician hopes to remain immune from its effects. Now the kind of reverence that for the gods that we modern worshippers have is actually quite alien to Egyptian religion. As far as they're concerned, the gods plague us, or plague human beings all the time, so they don't see anything wrong with plaguing them a little bit back. So instructions for the spell to cause evil sleep: face the rising or setting sun. The practitioner should place the head of a donkey between his feet. Position his right hand in front and his left hand behind the animal's head. So he sort of covers it with his body. While he's seated on his heels above the head, he has to recite an invocation. Before starting, he anoints his right foot with yellow ochre, his left foot with clay, and puts the donkey's blood on one of his hands and into the corners of his mouth. As a kind of amulet, he should bind a thread of palm fibre to his hands and a piece of male palm fibre to the head and to his phallus. So then the invocation: I call upon you who are in the empty air, you who are terrible, invisible, almighty, God of gods, you who cause destruction and desolation, you who hate a stable household, you who were driven out of Egypt and have roamed foreign lands, you who shatter everything and are not defeated, I call upon you, Typhon, Seth. I command your prophetic powers because I call upon your authoritative name, to which you cannot refuse to listen. Then there's a piece of what's known technically as barbarous names of invocation, using secret coded names of Seth. I missed that bit out. Come to me and go and strike down. Then you put the name so-and-so, or her so-and-so, with chills and fever. That very person who wronged me, and he or she has spilled the blood of Typhon in their own house. For this reason I am doing it. So you spill the blood of the Typhon, but you blame it on someone else. And hopefully the Typhon goes along and tears them apart. The rite and the invocation are linked together through the god Seth, as is fairly obvious, or Typhon. It invokes the connection with Seth by means of the manipulation of the head and blood of a donkey, the animal which was par excellence the god Seth in Egyptian temple ritual throughout the whole of that period. The donkey represents Seth. Seth was and is one of the most important gods of ancient Egypt. He was the indigenous god whose cult was eclipsed by the new foreign cult of Osiris in very long time ago, in pre-dynastic times. The cult of Seth suffered a long decline until his only remote role remained as personification of evil, a murderer of the corn king Osiris. For a while under the Ramessides, Seth lost that negative character and became, as he was before, guardian of the spirit of monarchy. Seth continued to enjoy a secret life in Egypt, especially amongst the common people, the Reket, traditionally the place where old pagan ways tend to survive. So whereas in the temple, to keep Seth's destructive powers ritually at bay, priests manipulated and destroyed small wax dolls, or other inanimate objects as magical substitutes for Seth. So that's what was happening in the temple, presumably, at that time. People were kind of warding off the power of Seth, but however the spell actually uses the dangerous powers of Seth and directs their destructive energy against a particular individual in a private matter. So the magic is reversed. It manifests itself most explicitly in the donkey's head. According to Herodotus, Egyptian priests never offered an animal's head up to the gods, but cursed it and took it outside the sacred precinct of the temple. So this rite is very opposed to the rules of normal temple ritual. Not just accidentally, there's obviously something deliberate about that. It's deliberately desecrating temple ritual in a way, but the funny thing is the people doing it are probably priests. When the practitioner applies the donkey's blood to one of his hands, he breaks an important taboo of Egyptian temple ritual, and that's the connection with blood. Blood was impure. But the magician, who is also probably a priest of some sort, smears it on his or her hand and places it at the corners of their mouth. The magician faces the rising and setting sun. Daybreak and evening are considered opportune moments for the rite because they are at the beginning and end of the sun's nightly journey through the underworld, when he has to do battle with the forces of chaos and evil. So by reciting the ritual at the critical moments between light and darkness, the practitioner, who I'll remind you is a priest, takes advantage of the forces of chaos and disorder. Also in Egyptian mythology, the god Seth is part of the sun boat's crew, the crew of Ra's night boat, and he usually exerts his destructive powers to combat the serpent Apophis or Apet, who is the sun god's arch enemy in the underworld. So Seth and the sun god were together in mythology at this moment, at sunrise and sunset. And that's when the magician takes advantage of that to manipulate the situation in a private matter of sending evil sleep to someone he doesn't like. So the rite invokes Seth, or Typhon, as god of cosmic upheaval, who is hostile to the social order and dwells in foreign countries. The final lines say, the practitioner prompts the deity to come to his aid by falsely accusing the victim of having spilled the blood of Typhon. So a little bit unsavoury all that in its own way, but by careful detective work we learn a lot about Typhonian magic from just this single example, of which there are many, many bits are being analysed. So a few points that stuck in my mind. One, remind you again, the ritual points to the fact of the centrality of dreams within Egyptian magic. Can't be underestimated that. Dream time and dream work is very much an Egyptian magical technique. The second thing to note is that there's a relationship between the god Seth or Typhon and dream control. The two things are related, and in lots of other examples, the manipulation and knowledge of the dream time it's overseen by the god Seth. The third thing is that at this point in history, the sacred animal of Seth is the ass or donkey.